Welcome to the Ink Panels Graphic Novel Book Club. This is episode 16. I think it's 16. I'm pretty sure it's 16. So it was my pick this month, and I decided since spooky season's coming up that I would get a little head start on it, and also The World is on Fire. So what better book than by Jonathan Hickman and Tom Coker, The Black Monday Murders, Vol.1, All Hail God Mammon. This is a book that I really thought the Hickman dump started. You see a lot of what he uses in X-Men in this book with symbols as a language. Tom Coker's art, I'm not sure if it's the inks or what it is that really accentuates the darkness of it, but it's creepy. It sets the mood. I would almost say like a Fincher movie. How there's a certain way he shoots it and like puts a filter on it that it has this just dark, ominous look constantly.
All the time.
Yeah, it really. Well, even the Perfect Circle Judith video he did, they even have that filter on it. This book is something I consider heavy. It's not like something you just pick up and read. And I totally broke format here. I'm Dan, your host.
You were so excited about talking about the book that you're just like, I'm going to get right into it.
As always, I have Jennifer, Comics Will Break Your Heart on Instagram, Comics Will Break Your Heart on YouTube, and Gambit at Gambit's Inc. everywhere. Working on projects. The Red Sonja card set is out next month, I think.
I think so.
You're working on another project, which whenever you're ready to announce, I'm sure you will.
I'm working on other stuff too. Yeah, but I can't say anything just yet. But soon.
Yeah, I'm getting better about that. Going, hey, by the way, you're doing this. It's like,
spoiler alert.
I panicked a little, but it was okay at the end.
Gambit, you're the first time reader on this. What were your thoughts?
So it's a different book than what I was expecting. First, I didn't expect such a heavy book. I mean, heavy in terms of word count. And now that you mentioned the similarities with X-Men, I see it now. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. I prepared for this. I've been reading X-Men for the past few months nonstop.
Yeah.
It was really good. It was legit way better than I thought it was gonna be. So I was expecting a good book, but then I kept reading. I was like, oh wait, this is actually pretty fucking cool, man. And I finished it this morning. I'm not gonna lie to you. I finished it this morning. It took me a while to read all of it, but and it's not that big of a book. But yeah, I love it. I'm really happy that I got to finally sit down and read it.
Just as a warning, though, the third volume never came out. Like, he got X-Men and just stopped this book.
So,
Wait,
if I understand this correctly, there is a second volume.
There's a second volume,
but there's no issues after that, correct?
Pretty much no.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was
and
like
it left like just hanging threads everywhere, and I'm just like, God damn it, X-Men! But then I'm like, I'm really liking X-Men, which now that I'm caught up with X of Swords, which if you haven't read it yet, Gambit, you're gonna love it.
I'm starting to read it. I'm reading like 2 comics a day because my stack of comics oh my god, my reading pile has got so big all of a sudden. It's like right next to me. I would show it to you, but it's a mess right now.
Yeah.
But it's like legit a really, really so you have an idea. I started reading X-Men Empire like 2 days ago or 3 days ago. That's how far back I am.
I've been loving like all the X-Men stuff, and I feel like I don't know if this book is where he got started on that like the Hickman dump, if it was this or if it was East of West. But
East
he
of West
starts doing it. He starts
wasn't as
doing
big.
it in like the third volume, where you get I think it was the second or third volume, where you get like, okay, here's like a history. Here's like the dump of information and like kind of the background and the history. Not as much of the like symbolism in that one, but all of his books to me are just like poetry.
And then he reached his final evolved cyan form in the X-Men number 12, where he's like, I'm just going to use an entire issue and dump the whole history on you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not that one. Okay, this is the next issue that I'm about to start reading. Hellions.
Read X-Men 12 before you finish X of Swords or Ten of Swords.
Oh, so since I read all of them, right? So this is all that I have. Let me see. This is all the X-Men stuff that I still have to read.
Wow. Okay.
Are you reading Cable?
Yes, I'm reading everything. So in order, that would be Hellions, then X Factor issue 2, then X-Men 11, then Cable number 4, and so on. And so X-Men 12 would be the last one actually.
Yeah, read 11 and 12, and then read X of Swords, because 12 tells the whole history of leading up to X of 10 of Swords.
So basically those are the last two on the list.
Good.
Because after that, I'm reading the Juggernaut and the new issues 5, 6, and 7 of Thor. That of course I missed
those either.
Dude, I missed issue 5 of Thor, and when I go ask for it at the store, they say, "Oh, we only have third printing." And I say, "Why would issue 5 be on third printing?"
Right.
The first appearance of the Black Winter. Of course, that's the one I missed.
So, like, right from the start of this, they start telling you the families and everything, and the stock market crash of 1929, and the way they kind of explain away the people jumping out the windows.
Just window washers, just whatever.
Just that whole opening scene where, like, they really set up where the guy's drinking his coffee, and all of a sudden, just the blood starts pouring out of him. It's incredible, and just how they're like, "Oh yeah, you're on the chair. You gotta go."
It's your turn to go.
Yeah, and just the way like sacrifices are made to the stock market, basically. The family story. I want to know more about the familiar.
Yes,
albino creature. Which, spoilers through 2 volumes, they don't tell you shit.
You don't really know much about her at all. Like, I think that her name is mentioned all of like 3 times in this entire volume. So, yeah. It starts with an A. Is it like Anna?
It's Abby.
Abby, yeah.
Abby.
Like,
yeah.
Throughout the entire, I feel like she
I can't believe I remembered that.
Yeah. I feel like she could be one of the more interesting characters, and in the same way that I feel like we got a glimpse of Hickman's East of West universe in X-Men, especially like these past couple issues, and now in 10 of Swords. I feel like she, to me, 100% looks like an East of West character. So of course I'm like trying to draw the parallels, and but yeah. And
it's interesting the way the art style is, that since she's like albino, how much she contrasts the darkness of the art.
Yeah, she just pops on the screen. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very much. I also like the structure of this organization, the Cana Bank.
Cana.
How they rotate every 3 years where they sit on the board, and whoever's on the stone chair has to basically be the conduit to Mammon in the blood sacrifice.
I do wish, and maybe because I've only read the first volume, I haven't finished the second volume. I'm very curious if they're going to explain Mammon. I feel like we know. I mean, if you know a little bit about like mythology and like weird like religious stuff, I feel like you have an idea of who it is, but you don't really that's not explained in this first volume, and a lot of it rests on like worshiping Mammon, but.
And then you have Dumas, who's the cop who also does a little voodoo.
Mm-hmm.
And they have.
I think it's pronounced Dumas and
Dumas.
not Dumas.
I
Okay.
figured
without the S. I think the S is silent because it's like Alexander Dumas, the writer of the reason I think is like
Count of
it's
Monte
that way.
Cristo.
Yes, it's because he is the son of a Haitian slave, and he lived in Haiti for like 14 years in his youth, like his first 14 years, something like that. I don't know, some bit of information that I didn't know, and suddenly, oh, so maybe his name is pronounced this way because that one is pronounced that way, and kind of like ties together. It has nothing to do with the book, but it's
You know, it's funny. Okay, so one, I thought it was pronounced Alexander Dumas, like you pronounce the S, but now I realize because he was French, correct?
Yes.
Yes,
And
I
he
think
was
so.
actually like maybe a quarter African.
I think it's Haitian from Haiti.
Okay. So I did know like that, but I didn't know that's how you pronounce his name. But I did catch that reference to his name. I figured that's where it came from Alexander Dumas. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So my thoughts on the book, fun and super interesting because today we were reading a news article that broke out like in the past week, I think it was, by BuzzFeed of all news places, right? About how the banks are the bank system in the United States knew that they were dealing with criminals and how they've been basically looking the other way when it comes to dealing with criminal money, which is a lot. So although it has nothing to do with the book, I see a story like that supporting the reality of the book. You know what I mean? Like in a world where these banks are like at a whole other level, like a situation like that where we know what's happening, but we just look the other way because we still we have to maintain this status quo or this illusion of normalcy, which is basically what the professor tells the detective at the end. He said, people see this, but we know the reality. We know how, the cause and the things that happen in the background, which is super interesting considering how shitty things are right now in the world. You go like, oh shit. It's like, damn it.
And
So
especially when you think like currently billionaires got like billions richer in the last couple months. Like 90% of the profits that were made in the last 4 or 5 months have gone to billionaires and trillionaires.
Some of them got
it's yes. It's actually one of the characters. When the detective goes to the building and he meets is it Gregoria?
Yeah.
Yes. When he's talking to him, he says no. The detective talks to him and tells him, ask him how, because he's talking about the dude that was killed. Like, yeah, he's just someone else that died. Now comes the other one. He said, oh, it's so easy for you. He said, well, these people are so wealthy, and so big that the reality changes for them. They're as rich as a small nation. And you think about it, it's like, it's true. These millionaires in the world, they're so rich that their reality is completely different to anything that you and I experience on a daily basis, and I can see how a character like that would be like, yeah, it's just another person, it's part of it. One dies, then comes the other, and they continue. It's okay,
The part that like really sets the book for me is when is it Erskine, when he's doing that guest lecture in that class and he starts laying it down and the student's like, well, that's illegal. Like, there's regulations. He's like, for little people, yes.
Mm-hmm. I love that, like, in that scene, he says something along the lines of, the first $1 million you make, like, there may be some blood, sweat, and tears, which, we could probably...
And the rest you make off the backs of others.
And the rest you make off the back of others, the backs of others. And I thought that was really interesting. I mean, there could be some question about when people do make their first $1 million, is it really their own, or do they get, loans from their, rich parents or whatever? But especially if you can afford to go to college, that's a whole nother conversation. I don't know if Hickman intended that, but I really loved how, like, you're right, that did set the tone for the entire book of these. Not only do these rich, wealthy people live in this completely different world, that they are free from these rules. It's not just like our world. It's this completely other, I do want to call it satanic, but this complete other, like, mythological world, almost like a cult type world, where it's not just you can't be touched on the physical plane, but they're using their wealth and their power and their money to not necessarily be immortal, but gain an extra 20, 30 years on their life. In some cases, 100. So I thought that was pretty cool.
The line Erskine says, "Young man, we finance culture. We buy entire nations."
Mm-hmm.
This guy just had line after line in this. Like, Hickman, it was his character. He was just like, this dude's going to be so fucking evil and arch. Yet at the same time, like, just that back and forth with his lawyer, where he
yes,
the blood ritual,
that's exactly where I'm at right now.
Just like smacking his head.
It's like,
yes,
like smash your head against the table until I say to stop. And he's just talking, and you hear that. You see one panel is that, like, the thump, and one panel is his face all fucked up, and then the same, rinse and repeat until he said, "You can stop now." And then the reveal is him. That's one of my favorite moments in the whole book. That one and the funeral.
Yeah.
And when you see that splash page at the end where you see that the dude is on the floor and there's all this paperwork and it's like all bloody, and the detective's like, "What did just happen?"
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine being a detective and suddenly some shit like that happens in front of you? How would, like,
Gregoria at that funeral where she's like, "You're all my enemies."
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's like, fuck you. You're cool, but fuck you too.
Get the fuck out. And then the most metal page.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. That whole sequence is pretty cool. I love that.
And the use of, like, the red tones in the flashback, like, there is such great choices of shading, color use. I really enjoyed looking at the pages and how they decided to use colors.
Yes, that muted tone that the whole book has not only works with the style of the artist, it works with the mood of the book. Like, everything is, you can see that everything is well. The book needs to look like this, to help out with which helps with the story, because it helps you get into it, like, into the story better. If everything, if nothing is distracting enough that takes you away from it. Like in this book, everything is working to get you there.
It's weird. Like, I keep trying, like, when I try to describe the book, I'm like, it's kind of a murder mystery. It's kind of a suspense book. It's a little bit horror. Like, It's really hard to, like, kind of put it in its niche because it's kind of a bunch of different things.
I was
thinking about that this morning, Jennifer.
I feel like I got a lot of True Detective vibes from it. Like, I wish this could be the 4th season of True Detective. I don't know. It's a good detective story. Like, whether it's going to be based in, like, real crime, but whether it's going to be based in, like, a cult type crime, I really dig it. It could easily be like an episode or an issue of Constantine. Like, I get, like, True Detective Constantine vibes from it a lot. If I had to, like, mash two things together. Yeah. So I need, like, a whole season of conspiracy theory, Satanic Wall Street. Like, I feel like it sets it up with Satanic Wall Street, And it does that a little bit, but really, like, it's a detective story here.
There's also, like, they murdered someone and they make that portal for him to go to wherever it was for that meeting. He goes, look, we used a Romani, like, they're not pure, like, it takes a while.
That was one scene. I'm glad that it was there because I thought it was kind of interesting. But I think that those people only show up one more time in the book. Now, granted, I don't know if they explain more of that in the second volume, in the second arc. I would hope that they do, because I feel like that could have been completely cut out of this book and it would still be the same book.
The flashback with Gregoria as a kid talking to her grandfather.
Oh, yes.
She's like, what do you want for your birthday? You can have anything you want. And she's like, I want to know what you did to my parents. What happened to them? And he
I like that he
just honest with her.
Yeah, he just drops it all. He's like, I'm 90 years old now.
So happy birthday, and just walks away.
Yeah. And then her brother comes over, the puppy, want to play?
After reading this again, because this is, I believe, like my third time reading it, I forgot how big the first issue was. The first part of this is like I wish that I had done a Sydney and marked this, but it ends or begins with like a little Hickman dump, it looks like. And let's go ahead and see here. Nope, because it ends with the wall, and then it
ends here.
Yeah. So, and it doesn't have page numbers on it. But then as I was so like, I don't know if like you can really see for comparison, but like that's the first issue right there.
Yeah.
And then the last issue, I mean, I'm not going to count all of that, but it's basically just the funeral and the flashback. And
I found it interesting how it's
it's like half. Yeah. So you really can't see, but this is, let's see here. This is the first issue, and then this is the last issue. So it's like half of what it was. It was still, I mean, I think that pacing was really, it's what you needed. Like, you really needed a big first issue to set up a lot of different things. Then you're hooked, and then the ending was just simple and sweet. It ends with a funeral, and spoiler alert for anyone watching who hasn't read it, but it literally ends with the church being set on fire and her telling her deceased brother, you would be proud of what I'm about to do.
Yeah.
So that was a really cool ending line.
I didn't notice that it was just 4 issues. Because the way it's spread out, and it doesn't feel like you're finishing an issue to start another issue, you know. I feel like it reads really well as a trade. I didn't experience it in single issues, so I don't know how reading that monthly would have felt, because I don't think I would be able to, like, I wouldn't be able to wait from issue 1 to 2 for a month.
That was the problem, because it was like waiting. You're like, okay, what just happened?
And normally with Image, you get a $9.99 book that's maybe not this big, but this one's a $20 kind of a thick boy. So you do get, even though it's only 4 issues, honestly, with the first issue that you get, that one's at least 2 issues worth of information in that first issue.
Yeah.
So.
Because I remember it was a thick boy, like it would hurt the spine of the comic. I also like that it says "we know."
Yeah.
We find out all that writing means we know.
Or it basically, like, there's not an easy translation for the symbols, but it basically means we know. Like, it's not necessarily a word for word translation, but it's a message that tells you we know. So I felt like that was pretty neat, because that's one of the mysteries that you're trying to solve. And I think that he gives that information whenever is that the scene where like the lawyer's head is going up and down?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Which was that was the scene that I was looking for during this reread. I'm like, and I forgot how far back it is because
it's almost at the end.
Yeah, it's almost at the end, and I forgot how far back it was. So that was definitely one of my favorite scenes. And then there was another scene that I remember. I loved it. This was in the first issue, but so it basically sets it up like, they're talking about all of the they're doing the school lesson where they're in, whatever school, college that they're in, and they're talking about the financial institutions having control over stuff and how they live out above and outside the law. And then it goes into the detective, and I feel like it's one of those I was just, one day away from retirement, but not really. He's this really awesome detective who Theo DeMaw, who ends up being he ends up being a really great detective, but a month ago he shot a civilian. But
Yeah,
then
but they explained that he shot a civilian, but then they found out that the civilian was actually a serial killer. So it's like, what does he know?
He got
Which I
suspected.
which
Yeah.
I thought that the character, I thought the book was going to explore that a little bit. Like
Mhm.
they set us up with this little bit of information on this character. Oh, he shot a civilian, but it
Mhm.
turns out that he was a serial killer. How did he
Yeah.
know? So I feels like, oh, so he has like a woo, and then they show him using the
The
bones,
bones,
before
yeah.
before he left the office. So I'm already thinking that I'm already thinking that this character has some supernatural ability or something, uh, uh, which, I mean, I still got the supernatural from the book, because it's heavily supernatural. But I thought that this character was going to be like the cliche. Of course, he has this special power, and
Mhm.
only he can save them, or do whatever needs to be done because it's perfect. So I like that, but at the same time, I feel like I was expecting that. I was
Mhm.
expecting that he was going to be above average, special in some way.
Well, I would say my argument would be he is, and he even makes this comment because the other detective or police officer who says something along the lines of like, oh, like who's talking about his backstory and how he shot the civilian or whomever, and he's like, oh no, I'm just better because I'm a better detective. And
Yeah.
then he makes the comment of, I'm early, I don't need to come back here till later. And he's like, well, what do you mean? And he's like,
8
come on,
o'clock.
dummy, look at you, the body's been placed in a position, and it's a clock, like there's 12 here, 3 here, 6 here, 9 here. This is a clock. He's pointing towards 8. I need to be back here at 8. Duh, you overlooked it. And it's basically saying, like, I am a better detective simply because I'm a better fucking detective than you. Like, do your research, do your homework. So I thought that was pretty neat. And so I think that I would say he is a better detective, and his special power is being intellectual and putting those little like pieces and clues together. And it's mentioned kind of one more time whenever he's talking to one of the other college professors about the book that
Yes.
he wrote. And he's like, oh, I need to talk to you about a book that you wrote. Oh, which one? Oh, this one hasn't been published because
I'm
you
on the
published.
page. I'm
Yep.
on the page. Oh, the one. Rare, hard to find. Almost every copy disappeared before it hit the shelves because someone bought them. All of them. And
All of
after
them.
that, bought and boxed the publisher. And how did you find the copy? I'm a minor collector, something of an enthusiast.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew what I was looking for.
And so, like, to me, that just sets up that he doesn't necessarily have to have supernatural powers, but he does have that like intellectual ability to find the connection between things. I do wish that it went more into something supernatural, because you're right, at the beginning he throws the bones, and he makes a comment about his grandmother being Haitian, and
Yes,
that
and that she's the one
because
that practiced voodoo.
she's the one that practiced voodoo, and something along the lines of like, oh, because the person that he's talking to says something like, oh, was your grandfather believe in voodoo and practice voodoo? And he says, well, no, the only thing he worshipped was my grandmother. and she's the one who practiced voodoo, and the only thing she kept of him was the bones of his hand. So I don't know if that's the bones that he throws in the beginning.
Yes,
because he makes
very probable.
so
The very probable.
And he even mentions whenever he throws the bones, he says something along the lines of, like, he's speaking to someone, like, show me something, is I think partially what he says. Is like he's, what does he say? Just this one's pappy, talk to me. So the bones that he throws in the beginning, those are his grandfather's bones. So I thought that was a really cool nod. So I think that
that is really... Sorry, continue.
No, that's okay. I just think that's a really cool nod, and I wish it would go more into maybe like that conflicting belief, right? Because a lot of times people who are not believers and people who like have maybe more of a scientific knowledge might hold on to thoughts and beliefs that are or are not religious, maybe supernatural, and like how do you reconcile those beliefs that may be at odds with one another? So I don't know if they do that in the second volume. I guess I'll have to read it, but no. Okay.
Yeah.
Gregoria is so dismissive towards the voodoo too, where she's basically laughing at him, and all of a sudden Abby comes out of like the woodwork, just out of the shadows.
That happens in this one. That was a really, really cool scene.
That's all she does is come out of the shadows. She doesn't. I mean, she talks.
She's also a sex toy, apparently. Like, there's that part where like Gregoria's like, "Hey, come on, finish up."
Yeah, stop talking.
Yeah,
it's like stop talking. Just
show me what that mouth do.
Oh my god.
This isn't the worst thing she said.
No, that's actually pretty tame for me. This is PG, right?
PG-13.
It's only 2:30, so PG comes later.
2:30? Oh yeah, right. You're on the other side of the States. Yeah,
so don't judge me for drinking. It's 5:00 somewhere. Hey, it's 5:00 where you're at. So
why would I be judging you? I'm already half
I know
drunk.
you wouldn't.
No, I'm joking. Yeah. I'm not half drunk.
You're full drunk.
We get normal time Sid now, not 11 hours ahead. Gonna be like just waking up Sid tomorrow for the Dune over.
Right. I have to send her a message to see how she's doing now. That she's in town. Now we're not in town, but this part of.
She said she finally went to sleep after days.
Damn.
I sent her a message. I was like, "Congratulations, human. I hope you make it."
So I feel like for me, like I don't know about you both, but I feel like for me this is Hickman. I mean, like I feel like I love almost everything that Jonathan Hickman has written, with maybe the exception of I didn't love Manhattan Projects. However, like for this one, I feel like I would give it a solid 9 out of 10, and maybe an 8 out of 10. And one of the reasons being is that I feel like I would almost like this to be a detective novel instead of a comic book. And that's rare for me. Normally I like read something and I'm like, this should be a comic book, or I can see the adaptation. And not only can I see a movie or a TV show adaptation of this, I feel like I can also see a book novel adaptation. And I think if that was, he could literally just George R.R. Martin the shit out of this and just go crazy with the like conspiracy theories and really give us that big world building. So that would be like the only reason why I didn't rate it like a pinch higher, is because I feel like this would be a really, really good one as a novel.
I went on Goodreads and I looked at reviews just because, I know what my opinion is of it, and, those reviews on there are so wildly different. I saw a lot of, I can't stand the pacing of this book. It's too slow.
I mean,
at first,
it's deliberate. It's 100% deliberate.
I feel like it's slow.
I understand.
There's a lot of dialogue. I feel like there could be some dialogue that was cut and it would still be a good book. And even the part with where they're in Russia or whatever.
Yes.
I feel like that could, even though I enjoyed it, and I kind of see why that was done, I feel like that could be cut and it would almost be the same book to me.
Yeah, I can see that. Like, there are some scenes that I think they probably could have done with that. Like, if it was a movie, you'd have someone in the editing room going, I mean, I don't think we'll lose anything here telling the
Mhm.
story by getting rid of it. So yeah, I can kind of see that. I will say the one thing of this series when it was coming out in single issues, the covers were fucking fantastic. Like they drew your eye. You walked to the shelf and you were like, "Oh, what is this?"
Yes, I
There's
remember when they came
a
out.
skeletal guy in a suit with horns drinking
Mhm.
coffee.
I feel like I enjoyed the covers, but maybe they cat Salazar'd me, and they, to me, they didn't explain.
What?
Okay, I feel like the covers didn't explain what was going on, because if they show like, someone in like with horns with a suit on drinking coffee, do we ever really see that in the comic? No. So I would say like, yes, the covers are beautiful, but they don't show it. And the reference to Cat Salazar is because they do the marketing for Image Comics, and even though they do a wonderful job doing marketing, I feel like we were deliberately misled with titles like Mercy, where the covers are fantastic, they're beautiful, but the inside has so little substance, or at least make any fucking sense to me as a story, that I'm like, oh, like I'm being advertised this really beautiful book with a really beautiful cover. It's going to be great. And then I get nothing out of it. But some people are still buying Mercy, apparently. I mean, I'm one of them, but I hate it. So.
But I feel like the covers in this case, although they don't show you, uh, you don't see him in the comic. All hail God,
No.
Mammon, and seeing that image, I kind of immediately associate what I'm going to read about. And
Mm-hmm.
I did expected some more satanic as
Mm-hmm.
as we know it, but I like that it's his own thing, which I think it makes it even better because now
Yeah.
I don't have the knowledge of all these other bullshit that I've read through the years, being like, but that's not how Satan
Yeah.
behaves,
Yeah.
The closest
Yeah.
we got was to that other world they traveled to with the statues, wherever that meeting place was. Where
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Inside
yeah,
the wall of Berlin. Yeah, inside the wall. That was really interesting. I like that concept that they go and they meet inside a wall that for us is, well, not really this big, but you know what I mean. That for us is, a wall, and suddenly it's a fucking other huge place, a whole other world that once that you get out and that wall crumbles, there's no evidence of if that it exists. I like that concept a lot. That was very interesting. Now the question is, can you do that on any wall, or
Yeah. Does it
or
have to be that one?
or it has to be that wall, or a wall that has the same significance power? Because I feel like they choose that wall because that wall has a meaning and has some power to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like for something like that, you need that energy. And this is me now just firing ideas in my head, but you need that energy, that the energy of that power that was given. Granted, it's power given by an ideal or an idea to this object, but that energy, it's what it's needed to be able to sustain that world inside of it when you travel to it. So weird.
there is a line on here that I thought might have triggered you, Jen.
Which
When
one is
they're in
that?
the car with Alexi, when they pick up Gregoria, and they're saying, the seat remains ascendant, and now it returns to you as your brother had no heirs. And she's like, such is the risk one takes when trafficking in cock.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
I
I
was like,
didn't.
it's interesting. Like, that's her brother, and she's just like going in on him.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah. It didn't necessarily. It didn't. It didn't like trigger me at all. But
I kind of stopped. I was like, okay, that's
yeah.
thrown
I
in
think
there.
that it one of those lines that I think that was supposed to be like, oh, she's making like a dick joke, or she's making like a, I don't know, homophobic joke.
That's what it came up more like.
Yeah. So I don't.
Oh, you guys took it that way. So for me, what I thought is that he was trafficking male prostitutes.
Yeah. It could be
Well,
seen
when they
as
said
that.
no air, that's where I was like, okay, well, he's gay.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Yeah. That is. Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's what I got out of it, and maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Also, at the funeral, you see all the different houses there, like House Mahai,
Yeah, I
and
like that they use that opportunity for exposition. You know.
she has a familiar that looks like Daniel from the end of Sandman.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's got some John Lennon glasses on and completely pale. And they have Saudi Arabians there, Chinese, a little bit of everything. And then they have the flashback of if it's not Abby, it's another familiar. I just don't know if the familiar changes its name as it changes hands. And she's naked eating the grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm assuming it's the same. I assume it's the same familiar. It's just that now this familiar, it's once whatever it is that when she's consuming the old man and she walks into the room, she says something to her. But since I can't speak that fucking language, I don't know what she said to her. And she said yes. So I'm assuming like I love you, you love me, because I immediately revert to that basic. Situation. Oh, she's in love with her, and she's like, "I killed your grandfather for you. You know, are you in?" And she goes like, "Yeah, fuck yeah!" And now they're together.
Yeah,
super simple for me.
I don't remember a lot of Volume 2. I remember certain beats because it's been forever since it ended and came out again. Like literally, Hickman's put out like he finished East to West and then went to X-Men, and that's all that I think he's put out. Oh, and Decorum.
I mean,
yeah,
you get the opportunity to reinvent the X-Men for this new generation. I would drop everything that I'm doing for that too.
Oh, 100%.
I can't blame you for that.
So my rating on this, I'm 8 out of 10 probably too. It's just you have to be able to, in your head, just say, okay, there's a lot of text. And it's not just there to be there. You literally have to ingest it.
You have to read it.
To understand what's going on. And that's always the warning I've given for the book. Like, take your time. You can't speed read it. And honestly, with Hickman in general, you can't just blow through stuff. Otherwise, you miss a ton.
Yeah. I mean, it's good that it because it's a book. It's meant to be read, you know. Although it's a comic book, it needs to have some words. It shouldn't be just all pretty pictures. Silent issues are cool, but he made sure to put as much information as he could on every single page, and although at first the pacing I felt that it was a little bit slow, I honestly thought I was not going to like the book. I honestly thought that I was like, when I was halfway through issue 1, I was like, okay, I don't think I'm feeling this. But I put it down and then pick it up again and started reading it again, and then I was like, okay, let's I kind of digging this thing. And by the end of it today, I was like, oh man, this is freaking cool, you know.
Well, it's funny.
Now,
this is the opposite of Monstrous, where Monstrous as a trade was very hard for me to get through. Where with this as a trade, I felt it flowed better.
Yeah. Yes. That's what I was mentioning earlier. That I think I have, although I didn't experience it in single issues. It feels very natural as a trade. So.
Yeah, Monstrous felt like a burden when I was going through Volume 1 when we did it for the show. Like it just, I don't know what it was. It just was moving so intensely slow for me. Where even this is slow, but once it picks up, you can just keep going.
I think one of the reasons why Monstrous and this feel a little bit different is because we're experiencing the Black Monday murders in a world we pretty much already know. Like, they don't have to explain the banking system. They don't have to explain, class dynamics or anything like that. Where in Monstrous, I think that it does a lot more world building. So it needs to be like heavier like that because it's a world and mythology that we don't really know. I do think that if even though I do wish that we would have gotten a little bit more explanation on like who Mammon was, and a little bit more into the like into the Satanism nods. I think that if it had done that, then this probably would have been that slow read like that, because then you'd have to explain that world, because it doesn't go into any of the supernatural stuff. It's basically like you're just seeing what all the people in this world are doing. Like, we know from the first couple pages that they live outside the law, so they don't need to explain class dynamics or anything like that. But where in Monstrous, there is this set of subhuman people, and this is the huge war that had happened, and so they do explain more of that than this book does.
Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
So in the religion part, I for some reason immediately, and this is what I was mentioning earlier, that I'm glad that it's more of its own thing than what we're used to. But immediately I associated, and I felt, I shouldn't say felt, but for me it gave me the vibe of the opposite of a Catholic religion.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's very, and you see this in the funeral when the priest is talking, and they talk about the Pope, the Black Pope and all that. So I'm immediately seeing it as a like the evil version of, not the evil version of what the Catholic Church is. Like we have the Catholic Church, and we have the exact opposite in the world too, but that one operates in the shadows, and that's the one that's like,
Yeah.
um that's the one that has all the cool shit. So in the part of in the religions part, I immediately in my head I tied I put a bunch of things together about how that religion kind of works. I hope that it doesn't, that all the ideas that I have in my head of how it works are just in my head, and that when I read volume 2 I get something that is like, oh, I did not expect that. But now we know that this is not finished, so we probably will never know what exactly we're dealing with.
So I feel about this book the kind of same way I did about Philadelphia with the art, where I can't imagine another artist doing this book with the way it captures the feel and vibe of it. Just much like how Jason Sean Alexander on Philadelphia, just his art matches kind of the grime of the story. This is the same. Even the way the facial expressions on the characters are done, like Erskine has just this scumbag entitlement on his face constantly,
like smug.
Yes,
like he's always kind of like smirking. Yeah.
This scene right here, like how they're standing, like their body language, you see them and immediately you know that person, how that person is breathing, how that person is standing. You like those the body language on this guy on his work, especially in this panel,
when they arrest
like
Erskine,
you can read it. Yes.
His come to daddy look.
It's funny
no.
Oh, I was just going to say, it's funny that you mentioned Jason Sean Alexander from Philadelphia, because, spoiler alert at the end, the panel that we're mentioning where she's eating the grandfather, like just the way that page is laid out reminds me of Philadelphia. The like lines in the background with like the blood and stuff kind of splattering everywhere. That to me felt like that. I didn't realize it when I was reading Philadelphia thinking about this, but maybe it's just because this is my third read of this book. I see it.
Yeah. Again, the art sets the tone of the book, like very much its mood, atmosphere, and I give a lot of credit to the artist and the colorist and the inker, because to be able to just set the mood of a page and just let the reader know this is what you're in for. I have to give it a ton of credit. And again, the muted colors, like with the stone chair guy at the beginning who's dead on the ground, and it has like a muted red with him kind of popping from it with all the writing on it. I completely 100, and of course the use of shadows on the
Yes.
older Abigail with the face where the eyes are hidden.
No, I like the way his whole approach on the art of the book. Sorry, I started at line of thought and I lost it, so I'm just gonna just praise the work. And I don't know, wait, as much as I love the artwork and then the book and all that, I'm gonna tell you what I hated, but it's part of the story. It's how a lot of those documents are redacted. They have the black line
Yes.
over it, and you can read it. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, why give us this information if you're not really even giving the information? And
Exactly.
it's funny that you mentioned that, because I feel like, because this is my third read of it, I feel like I skipped a lot of those and the story was still good. So I feel like, once again, this is probably those Hickman dumps could have been left out, and I think that it still would have been enjoyable. It still would have been all
But
right
do you
to read
think
without it.
But do you think that if we take away those documents and you read it for the first time, that you will be able to fill in those gaps that those documents fill in?
Maybe. I think
Because
that if
Mhm.
you're I do think that if you're a first time reader and you are going to read those things, reading them could be something that stops someone from finishing it, because they're like, okay, I came
Mhm.
here for a picture book, not a
Yeah,
word book.
Did
So I
you
think,
read? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, I just think that it was a lot, and I still think that it was enjoyable with it. But I do think that I read it this time without reading all of them, and it was still fine.
The Diary of Win Ackerman. My original reads, I think I passed through and just didn't
Mhm.
read some of it. One of them in particular, the pages. It's from February 22nd, 1979. He's like, sometimes I can hear the market, like it's a sentient thing able to communicate with those willing to listen, which of course is true, but traditionally understood to be no more of an interpreted thing, not so much for me. To that end, I have arranged a meeting with the Fed tomorrow. Probably not the wisest thing to do, tempt fate by physically addressing the embodiment of commerce, but I have a few hunches about market volatility that I simply have to either confirm or deny. Regardless of what I learn, I look forward to seeing God face to face. The next entry. Hey, Win, where'd you get your tan? They'll say, because I'm a well-cooked, slightly crispy idiot. But I'm also right. Let's never do that again. So I don't know if he met Mammon and like got burned.
that's
Yeah.
what I can take away out of that.
Yeah.
That he went somewhere and yeah, now he's paying that price.
Complete throwaway entry that you could just blow by and not think of. And like for some
Yeah.
reason on this read through, I stopped and I read every one of Win's diary notes, like how another family came in and ate his parents.
I don't know. I feel like those little bits of information help give you a larger, makes the world bigger and it gives you a little bit more into these other characters that are surrounding the main story, although maybe not directly, but you get a little bit more of understanding of how this world works when you read those things. And I feel like, although yeah, maybe there's way too many words, for a comic book. But I feel like they in this case they didn't take away anything from the story, and I feel like they do add to the story. I will give it an 8. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm a solid 8. I can't give it a 9 or a 10 because I don't know why, but I feel like an 8 is a fair rating for a book. Will I recommend it to someone to read? Yes, definitely.
Usually if you mention the concept of the book, people stop and go, wait, what?
Mhm.
I can talk about the concept. If someone asks me about the book, I'll be like, I read it and I know it's good, but I honestly, it's someone died and then there's this detective, and then you learn that there's a whole bunch of bankers controlling the world, and they actually worship satanic god or some shit like that, and yeah, just read it. You know.
I feel like Watchmen prepared me for this for Hickman
Mm-hmm.
because so when Watchmen first came out, I ignored all the Black Freighter stuff.
Really?
Yes, I just wasn't interested. 20 years. That's what it took me to actually read it, and I was like, "Oh shit, this has something to do with." Just because I was like, this doesn't have Rorschach or all these other characters. Fuck this. I don't want to read
Yeah.
this.
I don't want to read about a pirate that's lost in the sea.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe this is just what Hickman does as a writing process, because I think one of the, maybe not one of the tricks, but one of the suggestions that writers given is write every character like they're the main character of the story. So like for me, when I've written characters before, like I do try to get into their heads a little bit and like write little backstories or write what their motivations are, even if they're not the main protagonist, even if it's like a semi-minor character. So I feel like that's what he does, is that he's creating this whole backstory for every single character, not just like the main 2 or 3 characters. He's like trying to get into the head, like you said, like writing diary entries. Like, do you think that Jonathan Hickman just has this secret layer of like every single character he's written, like has like a diary? Like what would Magneto's diary say in the Jonathan Hickman universe? Like, especially when I think about the latest X-Men, I don't know if you got to this one, like today I did this and I didn't know which suit I was going to wear, so I put on my fancy white one. Like so I don't know if like that's part of his writing style, is just doing this whole crazy backstory. And specifically with this, it reminds me of that one episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where they start working somewhere and Charlie's like, there is no Pepe Silva, and he's just like got the background with like everything. So I just feel like that's Jonathan Hickman's writing process, is just going full Charlie, like there is no Pepe Silva.
What's that? As the artist, what's that script got to look like that you received from him? Like how big is it? Like just like what the fuck? Because like my friend who I had on who worked at Extreme told me how he looked through some of the Supreme scripts that Alan Moore sent in to be worked on when Alan Moore was working on Supreme, and he said they were so detailed to the point of pictures in the background, he would tell them what's in the picture.
Mm-hmm. So there is a moment where there is something in the background in one of these pictures, and now I'm kicking myself in the ass for not.
Well, I haven't read Supreme, but the question is, are those details that he asked to be put on in the panels are relevant to the story? Because I feel like Alan Moore would do that because it's useful. It's going to use it at some point, or it's important that that this character has a poster of Superman in his bed.
Well, he would even write which way the character in the poster needed to face.
I feel like that would be me as a writer. Like I need ultimate control. Okay, so in the moment whenever Detective Theo is talking to the one professor who wrote the book, he walks into his office and there's a poster right here that has a cat that says "Hang in there." I just thought that was precious. So I'm like, where was that written in the script, or I don't know. So
it was an idea of the artist.
Yeah.
It's the lying cat one, just hanging there going lying.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of adorable.
Because, for example, the script that I have now on the first page, it describes some panels, and he tells me in the description of those panels that the signs have to say certain things specifically.
Mm-hmm.
But that's because it's relevant to give you an idea of what's happening, why are we there, and what's happening and why are we there,
Mm-hmm.
And how many people are there. So and every time he puts something in his descriptions, it's usually because it's something that's relevant to the story eventually, that later on we're gonna see like the bones. I totally forgot that the bones at the beginning could very well be the bones of
Mhm.
his grandfather hand,
And it's there and gone, and they never discuss it again, really,
Yep.
because he's just like at his desk. He goes, "Tell me,"
Tell me, Papa, or
Yeah.
speak to me,
Yeah.
Papa. Yeah.
and then done.
know?
Don't see him again.
Yeah, I like that they gave you a little bit. I would have preferred that they wouldn't even given you that scene. I would have, but I feel like if that scene wouldn't have been there later on, saying that his mother had his bones, would have felt way creepier than it already
Yeah.
is. But I feel like if we wouldn't have put that scene, if he wouldn't have put that scene on that particular moment, I wouldn't have gotten that supernatural powers idea coming from him. You know, that
Yeah.
vibe that he will be something like he's the one that's in touch with the force, and he's the one who's going to stop the end of the world. You know, and I like that. I would have preferred that he would have been like, no, I'm just a good fucking detective, you know, and he dismisses all those comments like, oh, how did he know? Is he like, does he have a special power? Be like, no, I'm just a fucking good detective, you know.
Mhm.
I would have preferred if he was played like that the whole time and not giving me that because I immediately, for me, he has superpowers immediately. He sees things in his head that nobody else sees.
And when the sun shines through the window, when he starts
Mhm.
seeing the writing, like I just
Oh yeah, that's pretty cool.
great little.
That the whole thing, I like how it was. I like how it was drawn. Like I like how the book, except for 3 panels that I feel like it's the same panel, just zoom in a couple of times. Um, I have to say that I really love the artwork on this book.
So I would recommend it to people, but again, with the caveat of like, if your attention span isn't very good, this book might frustrate you.
I would almost suggest this book more frequently for readers of Hickman. Maybe not necessarily X-Men, maybe because I feel like he's doing a lot of really good things with X-Men. But I don't know. I feel like this is Hickman's style, even though it's something that's because to me, X-Men is kind of doing this like fantasy thing, and then East of West is that weird like science fiction fantasy type stuff. So
I've
I
only read the
feel
first volume of East and West.
you have or you've read it.
Only the first volume.
Okay.
This is almost like a pulp novel.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I feel. I mean, if I'm going to recommend this book to someone, I'll be like, first, do you like True Detective? Oh yeah,
Mhm.
okay, so you will like this book.
Yeah.
You will
Like
enjoy this book.
True Detective, Lovecraft Country. Like if you've maybe even
I haven't seen
for people,
Lovecraft Country yet.
it's so good. I highly
Yeah.
once again, I think that if you like this, you would like Lovecraft Country, and if you like Lovecraft Country, you would enjoy this.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Sounds like it goes full circle right there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we've dug into this quite a bit. Is there anything you've read recently that you've enjoyed?
Jennifer.
Jennifer. Okay, me first.
Yes.
I feel like I talk a lot about things that I've read recently because, like we talk every week. There is something that my partner picked up at the store. I was gonna pick it up and then I passed over, and he's like, "Oh, hey, look at this!" And he was the one who grabbed it. But it is Black Hand and Black Hand and Ironhead. This was really good. He read it and he's like, okay, like you have to read this, and I really enjoyed it. I'm gonna try to do like a little mini review on it because it was really fun. It's basically this character, maybe Watchmen, but a little bit more wholesome. Like if Watchmen was gonna be PG, kind
Watchmen
of.
Baby.
If Watchmen was going to be PG.
Yeah, but it's a lot more wholesome than that. That may be reducing it a lot, but it's basically there are superheroes, and all of these supervillains were defeated like 20 years ago or something. And in this last decade, there's one group that puts all the superheroes together and has them fight in cages as opposed to their becoming super villains. Well, the head of the corporation dies, and his daughter ends up inheriting the company. Lo and behold, you find out this is her stepsister, and his father conceived a child with her mother. And so then they have to team up, even though they're that like unlikely duo. They have to team up and fight evil, kind of. I don't want to spoil it too much, but it was really fun. It was really, usually I don't like books that are in this size format because it doesn't feel natural for me to read, and it doesn't feel natural for me to flip the pages. But it was still really enjoyable, and I highly recommended it. I would give it a solid 9 out of 10.
Nice.
So Black Hand and Ironhead.
What have you been reading then?
So I actually have a kind of newish publisher that I've really been getting into. They've been having some solid stuff. They're an indie, AWA Upshot. They published Devil's Highway, which I've really enjoyed, by Benjamin Percy and Brent Schoonover. And they also had another title that came out recently, Bad Mother. And issue 2 came out, Mike Diodato art on it.
Nice.
I'm really digging it. A lot of them are murder mysteries, it seems. I've been really digging that. Cable,
yes,
Marvel has been better than it should be. Like,
100%.
right?
Because Jennifer and I were both we really like Cable, and we're not expecting to like.
So you guys are
Oh, especially young Cable. I'm like, this piece of shit right here, I'm not going to enjoy young, smirking Cable. No, I love it. He's a total thirst trap, and it's precious. I really do enjoy Cable, and you're right. It's so much more enjoyable than it deserves to be.
Yeah, this is the most recent issue I've read. I think there's one after this one is issue 4, which I obviously haven't read that one. Hello. So yeah, I've been enjoying Cable, but I have a question because so before I started reading the Hickman X-Men stuff, I had stopped reading for a while. Stopped reading X-Men. I read the last X-Men books I read were the Brian Michael Bendis one, and I stopped all new X-Men.
Okay.
Actually, not even Uncanny. Did he get to write Uncanny?
Anyways,
the point is, why are there why is there a body of an older version of Cable?
Younger Cable.
Did this happen before the Hickman reboot thing, or okay? So this is something that happened and I missed. This is not something that we're going to learn eventually.
And it triggered Rob Liefeld and had him go on a Twitter tirade.
Oh, I promise I was not going to talk about Rob Liefeld today. I swear to God. Okay, so you have to tell me about that right now.
So basically, it's this is just them undoing, my character and all this stuff. He's also the made Shatterstar kind of pansexual, I guess. And then he went on.
Think they're doing these things to piss him off?
I mean,
because at the end of the day, this younger version of Cable is a derivative of Cable, so he still gets credit for the creation of Cable.
Yeah.
It's not like it's another character. Yeah. It's just a younger version.
He can cry walking to the bank, cashing his check.
All he wants.
Yeah,
but the way they use the Stepford Cuckoos in it, I just love this book, and then Phil Nolan's art is just fantastic, and then you bring in the Space Knights.
Yeah.
100%. There's also another book that Jen and I have talked about quite a bit that's on the 3rd issue, Bliss from Image Comics. Mm-hmm. It is so messed up and dark, but I can't stop reading it.
Yeah, it's not a happy title. It's interesting, and I want to read it, even though each issue I read, I end up coming back miserable because you feel for this character who's doing piece of shit things, and you actually you kind of want him to do piece of shit things.
And then there's the books that we got: Cat Salazar, Mercy, Stillwater by Chip Zdarsky, which we hated. So like we went on a 15-minute tirade almost about Stillwater. Like oof.
It's so funny because I was looking at my shelf and I'm like, what else has Chip Zdarsky done? Like, and I was looking at Kaptara and I'm like, when I just think about the beautiful weirdness that is Kaptara, and then I think about the middle of the road that was Stillwater, it wasn't that it was bad, it's just that I feel like everything that I've read in this story, I've read somewhere else, and it's literally about a guy who, like, spoiler alert, issue 1 of Stillwater is a guy who loses his job because he was aggressive with a coworker, goes to a bar, punches a guy, ends up with a hangover, finds out that he is an inheritant of something, has to drive to this town, punches a guy there, and no one can die in this town.
Isn't that Wolverine? That sounds like a Wolverine story.
Yeah, right. Bub.
Isn't he the writer of this X-Men Fantastic Four series?
Zdarsky, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes? Oh, okay. Yeah, it's like, man, that name sounds familiar. So you saw my pile of X-Men books that I have to read, right? This is my pile of DC books that I have to read.
Whew. Why are you here
legit
right now? No, I'm just kidding.
So I haven't read Strange Adventures. I haven't read the issue 2 yet. So that's how far I am. How far behind I am in this thing. I can tell you much about what I'm reading that I'm enjoying, except Cable and the X-Men books.
Commander Weird should be coming out soon, or
what is that?
Was the Jeff Lemire Black Hammer spinoff?
Mm-hmm.
Or Colonel Weird? Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that should be coming out sometime soon.
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, it was solicited and then it disappeared, and Lock and Key Sandman Universe should be out soon as well.
I don't know if I want to read that.
Why is that? If you don't mind me asking, because I have a lot of feelings.
I don't know. And this is just me being ridiculous about it. I feel like Sandman, it's its own thing, you know. And I honestly hate when they use Sandman with DC, with other DC characters. Like no, like it's like you know. And don't get me wrong, I love DC as much as I love Marvel. I love the idea of comics more than any company in particular. You know, I love what comics can do and what they do. You know, but as much as I love the DC characters, you know, I hate it when they show up when you see a Sandman story and there's a panel where there's Superman. It's like, no, I don't want I totally keep it separate, you know.
I get that, and I feel like that's one of the reasons why like Doomsday Clock didn't really resonate with me, because I feel like even though they're doing really cool things, and even though I really loved the Watchmen HBO series, I feel like Watchmen is its own thing. And then like I get what you're saying with Sandman being its own thing, because that's like hands down like my favorite series of all time that got me into comics. However, because I didn't love Lock and Key when I read it, and I didn't like the artwork, the new Lock and Key series and Pale Battalions or whatever, I feel like I recently read that, and that completely changed my mind on how I feel like the Sandman Lock and Key spinoff series completely changed my mind and heart.
I'm pretty sure I might. I mean, when I read it, I will enjoy it. You know, it's just like, it's like I wanna.
Like I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna complain the whole time.
Yeah, but I'm gonna complain the whole time, exactly like that.
Check in with me this week reading Mercy.
Why do you keep reading it if you don't like it, though?
Because I came home tired and I posted a poll and said, should we, since it's the last issue, read it? And I feel like people did it to troll us and voted yes.
Well, I voted no, and
you were the only one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my vote counts for a lot more no's.
And Andrew, of course, voted yes. So Rodney Barnes was right. Andrew's evil.
He's a horrible person.
Looking forward to Philadelphia this week.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't read. I'm waiting for the next trade. I can't. It's really not only I'm running out of space. I live in a tiny apartment, and every week I go to the comic book store and I come back with a stack of. I'm not. It's like I stopped buying singles to start buying trades, and now that all my trades are in storage because of space, I started buying singles again. So I
Yeah.
come with the equivalent of a trade every week. So like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't need another book.
Well,
Another
issue
weekly book.
7. I ended up. Jen had a theory, and I messaged Rodney about it on Twitter, and he basically was like, "I can't tell you. I'm not spoiling anything." And Jennifer's like, "I'm taking that as a yes."
Hmm.
Of course, I mean that.
So it is for October. Your turn to make your pick.
It is my turn to make your pick, and this is the moment where I'm supposed to show the book that I picked. I always should, but this is not the book that I picked because I couldn't get to the storage to get it. But I made the decision that I wanted to read Sabrina the Teenage Witch, the first volume,
Chilling Adventure.
the
Woo!
Chilling
That's a
Adventures of
perfect.
Sabrina. Yes,
That's
I know,
perfect.
I know. It was either that or Afterlife with
With Archie.
Archie. Yeah, yeah, which is obviously a suggestion by Dan. We were talking. I was like, man, I don't know. I kind of want to do a comic book.
Mhm.
I wanted to choose the death of Superman. I wanted to do a
Okay.
superhero, a classic superhero story. But then he said, no, it's Halloween. Like, oh shit, that's right.
And your
What do I
last
have?
pick. Your last pick was kind of a super, or yeah, because we did Irredeemable. Was that your last pick,
Yes.
or was okay? Because that was
Yes.
still
Yes.
kind of
Yes.
superhero-y.
Yes.
So
That
very
was
cool.
kind of superheroic, so we can do chilling adventures of Sabrina the Teenage Witch by Archie Comics.
Irredeemable feels like it happened like years ago at this
Yeah.
point.
Right? And it was like 2 episodes ago, 3 episodes ago.
I was
Facebook memories that popped up. This was the month we did Craven's Last Hunt last year.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I need to make a list of all the books that we've done because
I go
I
to the
need to make
playlist.
a list.
The playlist on the channel has all of them.
Yeah,
so
yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, perfect. I just go through the playlist. It's super
Yeah.
easy. I don't know why I don't remember them.
It's funny because I was going through some Powell's website because I'm like, okay, I'm going to buy some more books because I can't stop myself. And I saw like
Exactly.
Irredeemable Volume 7 or 8 or 9 or something like that. And I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
holy shit, like I didn't know that it went that long. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
just crazy to me.
Oh, I didn't know either. And there's actually a counterpart to that one. It's Irredeemable, and then there's another one that's called Incorruptible, I think it
Yeah.
is.
yeah.
And it's like the opposite. And so, and after reading the first one, it's like, man, I kind of want to read the other ones, but that one has to wait. That one's not
Yeah.
on my priority.
Weirdly, watching The Boys, Homelander reminds me a lot of Tony
Yeah. I get
from
that.
Irredeemable, like quite a bit.
Yes. Yes, yes. I haven't finished watching The Voice. I'm on like episode 2 still. So episode 2 of the new season, not the first season.
It's like me with Watchmen, where like I stopped at episode 4 and I haven't been able to go back because just every time like I'll see something on the news and I'm like, I can't do it. I just
Go back, man. It gets so
Dude.
good.
I can't binge
Dude, like
it.
for real. You can't what?
I can't binge it. Like it's
Well,
just too heavy for me to binge.
You've been saying that you
Oh.
stopped at episode 4 like months ago. You should have been able to watch the rest of it by now.
I haven't been watching much of anything, kind of like you, like where I'm just I feel like I'm reading every day at this point now because listen, and every week she keeps going, we can do another chapter. Let's add another chapter. Like,
oh wow.
like we buried last week between her schoolwork and she still got on the show and was just like, I'm not I have no accountability. Like I didn't read it, but I just wanted to be on here with you guys. But I will
How many chapters are we in already?
Not 8. We finished 8 so
8.
far.
We're doing 9.
Everybody. I won't be able to catch up with you guys. I thought I was gonna catch up tonight. I was like, okay, they should be like on chapter 4, maybe 5. So if I can read all the way to chapter 4, I can, get up to date.
The chapters aren't that big.
Yeah, some of the
Okay.
chapters end up being like 6-7 pages long. Granted, some of them end up being like 20. So if you do go up to chapter 14, it's almost like 200 pages.
Page 170.
Yeah.
Jesus, I won't be able
what-
to read the 170 pages tonight. I'm not that good.
Here's what I'm doing is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, because I've actually I'm going to read the next 5 chapters, 9 through 14. I'm going to go ahead and read those tonight. And I'm also going to do like a little synopsis on like, where are we now? That goes through 1 through 8. So even if you want to try to like read 9 through 14, or I don't know, try to catch up.
I'm waiting because I know it's gonna be hello. Let me read my script.
Yeah. You'd be surprised. I have a new video that I shot like 2 weeks ago, and I've just been dreading, and it's not like that. So
I hated editing. I can't stand editing. Like,
listen.
And then like
I'm prepping my YouTube channel to start putting videos soon, and I'm researching that about editing videos because I want to make some time lapse videos of me tattooing, but now with a cable through the lens. So quick story: I tattooed Dan a few weeks ago, and I spent like an hour, like no joke, like an hour trying to set up my GoPro so that I can record the whole process, and I connect the cable so that I don't run out of battery, and I still had a battery backup, charged, and I'm like, yes, everything's perfect. Let's start this tattoo an hour and a half late than I should have because I wanted to record it. I recorded the whole thing. We finished. I stand up and I looked at the camera to see what's up, and I didn't notice that it had a cable like this the whole video. Cable in the way, why?
The Dune live stream has led me to now having more work for you to do.
Nice.
So
nice.
I had to gather my left arm since I'm almost gonna have it as a sleeve at this point.
I don't know what you were expecting.
There's a phrase in the book that has haunted me since we started reading it.
Yeah.
Infected by terrible purpose.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, so I think I want to get that, but like as parchment or like on stone.
I like that. Like it's chiseled in stone.
Yeah, something like that. But like ever since we talked about it, and Jen and I, like for some reason, it never, when we read it, resonated with us. And then this time we're like, oh. And then Cinia brought up something where if you do read the book, there's certain things brought up in threes. Like he'll go back
plans within plans, like that third repetition of things. So I'm curious going forward how much of that there's going to be. And I'm actually on top of reading the next couple chapters and also doing a recap. I've also been reading what his initial proposal for Dune looked like before it got edited. So there's going to be some fun trivia on this next episode.
Oh, I like that.
Have you watched any of the episodes, Gambit, or no?
No. The Dune episodes, no. I should just put them on and just start watching them.
Mm-hmm.
So Sid was scared of coming on. She's a natural.
Oh, for sure.
Of course she is.
I mean, like, well, no, she was like, I'm going to be horrible. Like, you guys, like, she's like, I'm so sorry. I'm going to drag your show down.
Not at all.
Like she has lists of big dick energy from Duke Leto. Like it's just funny. She's like, I've got some BDE to talk about. She's just great, and Cinia, of course, with all her tabs in her book, and she has what's the spine look like on her book?
I have it digital, so.
That's what Sid's reading on.
Yeah, it's gonna read it on my tablet.
Jennifer has called out the artist of the cover.
Mm-hmm. Why? What's up?
Well, this is kind of like a little bit of a spoilerly thing, but part of the whole mythology of the world of Dune is that, you know, because there's big sandworms, and one of the ways that you can walk in the desert to avoid calling one of the worms is that you walk without rhythm. So you maybe walk a couple of steps and maybe you pause, or, you know, you don't walk in a straight line. Basically, don't walk in a fucking straight line. And then, so do like a silly walk. So on the cover of
That's
this
really
version,
walk.
on the cover of this version, you
The walking
see
in line.
someone walking and there's footsteps and it's a straight line. So I'm like, I feel like I have a personal vendetta against Jim Tierney. I'm coming for you, man.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, I want to say that he read the book, but it's chances are that someone, not maybe not him, someone, the art director, someone who told him, hey, we want an art like this, uh,
Yeah.
never read the book. You're talking about this one right here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yep.
Oh
It was
man.
just like, that is super petty. She's like, listen, you've known me for months.
I'm
If
nothing
nothing
if
else,
not
I'm
petty.
petty.
Yeah.
I-
If nothing else, that's like probably a good portion of my personality is just being a petty cunt. So, you know.
I can't say anything. I'm petty as fuck. Like,
I mean, there's certain things that you go like, man, this is stupid. That's something that I would be petty about. You know, like he should be walking in a straight line. That's
Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah. So, you know, anyways, I think that, like, I do love the design because I do love the illustrator is not a bad illustrator whatsoever. Like, I actually really love this cover. I love that it's simple but and extremely effective. It's beautiful. However, I just think that that's my like one bone to pick.
wow.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the chat right now.
Oh, I totally forgot about the chat. Holy
Oh no.
shit, much.
Jen's partner is probably from the couch message commenting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
that's exactly what he's doing.
so where were we with the? Oh, today
Okay,
the reason. Yes.
Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Volume 1.
Yes.
Editing.
Your pick for October. And editing
That's
sucks.
my pick for October. And editing sucks. Yes, and editing sucks. And I saw a video when you mentioned Rob Liefeld. The reason I said earlier that I promised I was not going to talk about him today is that I saw a video on Instagram. This dude saying, you know, hey, I ordered some books from him in May, and not only was he shitty about it through this whole process, he finally sent them when I contact him through social media. He finally sent the books, and the books arrived all banged up in the corners, you know. And he
That was on
opens them as
purpose.
like, yeah, and he opens it as like, man, this is, and like he was legit like, this is bullshit, you know. And it's like, that is the reason I don't like him. But as much as I don't like his attitude towards stuff, I have to say I've been listening to his observations, and I hate that I like it.
I heard the Heroes Reborn stuff was very interesting. I didn't listen to it, but I heard there's a lot of interesting stuff in it.
The one with George Perez Avengers versus JLA was the first one that I heard, and it was really good. And as much as, like I said, as much as I recognize that his podcast has some good information, you know, and good information and how things work and the backgrounds of certain things that you might never thought about. That was the reason that book got canceled, you know, and shit like that. But yeah,
I keep meaning to listen to it.
I
keep meaning to listen to it. I can't bring myself to do it because I know like something will get brought up and I'll go down a rabbit hole with it.
Yeah, that's a risk. That's a risk. But it's actually quite good. It's not boring, and it's not just him, you know, talking endlessly just to talk. You know, it's actually, you know.
Did I mention I created Deadpool? Yes, I created Deadpool. I also created Cable. X-Force was the best-selling book ever.
I think he does. I think he does do that a couple of times. I'm not sure, but I honestly don't remember him doing it. But it wouldn't surprise me that I just tune it out the moment he said I created the, because I know, dude.
I picked
We all know.
I picked up the G.I. Joe Snake Eyes book he did.
Why? Why do you do that?
I don't know. Like,
it's like picking up. It's like it's like you don't like Tom King, but you still go and pick up the book to read it.
Well, the stuff that's not Batman, I do like.
That is true. That is true. That is true.
But I don't know why. Like, it's kind of one of those things where, like, you have an enemy and you want to see what they're up to. Like, I guess it would be the version of social media stalking. And, like,
I'm just going to buy his book.
I started reading it and I'm just like, holy shit, he ripped off Frank Miller's Daredevil. Like, full on, like, it's one of the Ninja Hand storylines that, like, he ripped off.
The what?
Yeah, like it basically was like them doing the resurrection of one of the hand leaders. It was basically like beat for beat the same fucking story, except put Snake Eyes in and then sub out Elektra with Scarlet.
Wow.
Yeah, like this actually tops Major X, where he was riding a motorcycle for 5 pages.
A motorcycle drive for 5 pages
through the desert. Yes, like 100%.
Did it have background? Did it have background?
It was the desert. There was a little bit of sky, maybe a cactus here and there, some cliffs that he was jumping. Like, I know it's stupid that I do this. Like,
jumping cliffs on your motorcycle because that's what you do when you're riding through the desert.
Oh, he 100% must have been watching like a Tom Cruise Mission Impossible movie because I could fill in a lot of space here that I don't have to write anything.
No, you know that Tom Cruise commercial where he's just running and he's saying that he's running for 2020. He saw that commercial. He's like, oh, I can write 4 pages of that. Oh man, but, I don't know. I sadly and I, as much as I respect his contribution for the industry, sadly I see his name on a product and I just go like, not interested.
Yeah, I'm actually like trying harder to not hate read stuff. Like, I legitimately am trying. Jen tries to, but we're not very a lot.
Yeah. I try and, here's the thing is that, like, I know ultimately, like, I'm going to hate read stuff. I'm trying really, really hard not to trash. We're trying really, really hard not to, like, trash comics. And if I do hate read something, I don't want to give it rent-free space in my head, Like, I'm really trying to, if I don't like something, I don't owe it to pick it up anymore, even though I still seem to do it. As much as I try, it's just not working. I'm still picking up a ton of shit that I hate.
Well, last week, I think it was the most like bitter episode. We came back, we took a week off. And we ended up like high energy trashing shit that we're like, listen, we don't want to do this, but we got to call this shit out.
We have a responsibility to the people.
I mean, the truth is that I thank you for your sacrifice of reading a shitty book so that I don't have to read it.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys so much because of that, so much. But but the truth is that as consumers, we should be able to call out when a product is not good, because we deserve what we're paying for. Mm-hmm. I totally agree with you. There's nothing wrong in saying, hey, I did not like your product, you better make it better. And I understand that if I didn't like this book, I'm going to buy at least 3 more issues before I decide if I'm going to cancel or not. Because it could be that just that issue was the one that I didn't like,
When it's a creator that I like that puts out a book that's so like toxic is where like, and Stillwater to me was toxic.
It really was, and it was completely different than, I guess, maybe that's my fault, but it was so completely different than what I expected of Chip Zdarsky that I was like, part of me is like, I'm hanging on. I'm probably going to go ahead and buy the second I'll probably buy the second issue, knowing full well that like I
You're probably
hated
gonna
the
hate
first one, just to see, because I have that much faith in Chip Zdarsky. But I don't know, man. Like, I'm really trying not to read stuff that I don't like. And if I don't like the first issue, do I owe it to get the second issue? No, because that's what it's there for. Like, when people tell me, like, oh, you didn't like this show, you've just got to, like, wait till the 4th season to get into it. I'm like,
No,
I understand, like, you know, it gets really, really good. The first couple of seasons are really good, but it really hits its stride on the 4th season. I get that. But if it takes 4 seasons for me to enjoy something, fuck that. I've got better things to do, I guess, which is
Cat
trash talk.
Salazar just tweeted issue 2 went to second printing.
I feel like that was immediately like whenever I think that I ended up reading Stillwater and just being like, I didn't like this. I don't even see like a redeeming quality of it. And then I opened up an email from Kat Salazar from Image, and it was like, oh, since the first issue sold out, it's going to second printing with a new cover, and it's the same exact fucking color in a different, or same cover in a different color scheme. Like, who liked it that much? But whatever.
It was a cool cover. Had nothing to do with the book, but it was a
beautiful cover. It was a beautiful cover that literally had nothing to do with the book. So, I don't know, maybe I'll like this next issue. We'll see.
You have fun with that, because I'm not touching it.
You say that, but the week that it comes out, I'm gonna be like, okay, I fucking hate read something, and you'll be like, it was Stillwater, wasn't it?
Yes.
So
I feel like that's going to be the situation
we
happening.
messaged each other, and I'm like, I fucking read a book I hate, and she's like, was it a #1 issue? And I'm like,
I think that week there was a second issue that you hate read of something, and you're like, no, it was a second issue.
7 Secrets.
Yeah.
Was one of them.
7 Secrets? I thought you liked 7 Secrets, because I hated the first issue of 7 Secrets.
Oh no, it was.
And then you said that 7 Secrets issue 2 was much better, so my dumbass went ahead and bought it, and I hated the second issue too.
Oh my god.
There was another #2 that came out that I hated, of a book that we hated the first issue of, and I can't remember. It was from the Dad Week.
You know what? Recently, the only book that I not hate read, but it was like, this is kind of lame, was Fallen Angels from when the whole X-Men Hickman thing came out. The one that had Psylocke, it was just 6 issues. That one, that's the last thing that I've read that I was like, oh, I don't want to read this, but I'm gonna read it at least until issue 6 before I drop it. You know?
Oh, Big Girls. Hated that.
Which one?
Big Girls. Jason Howard. Ooh boy, it's so bad.
Yeah, it was not good. I almost picked up the second issue because I saw that there were some left, and I'm like, nah, it was not good.
What's up, new guy?
I knew.
New guy. Nukes? It's Nukes guy or new guy?
We got
pronounced
new guy.
Yep.
New guy. Okay, cool.
Yeah, we actually have regulars on our weekly show now that come on. That's
awesome.
Yeah.
So thankful. I'm thankful for everyone who shows up, but
October 24th, we'll be hitting episode 100.
Oh shit! Already? That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, we're
October 24th. What do you have scheduled for there? Is it when are we going? Should we set up the date now for the?
Well, we do Saturday shows, so that's
okay. It's a Saturday, perfect.
So John's Comics with Kids is going to be our guest. He's been a supporter of our show, and he came on to the Vertigo show with us. He every Saturday morning gets on with his daughters, and they talk comics.
It's literally like it's the most wholesome thing, and I love it because like his I think she's 10 or 11, and the other one's maybe like 7 or 8 years old. They come on and they talk about like the books that they're reading and the comics that they like, and he obviously talks about the comics that he picked up, and it's great to watch. I missed it this last week again, so that's 2 weeks in a row. But my silly butt walked 8 miles round trip to get some donuts. So
And ate live on the show the donuts.
and 8 live. Yep, they were. I mean, I still have like half of one, so that'll be for dessert.
But yeah, it's crazy that we're gonna hit episode 100, and that's me taking a month off in December, pretty much.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I except for doing the one show with Nat where she forced me to get on camera because I wasn't doing anything and I was depressed. I pretty much stayed off camera almost that whole month.
Yeah,
because I was going through all that crap. So yeah, we've got that going, and every week we're going to do a horror movie on top of our weekly comics. We're doing The Black Coat's Daughter for this week, coming up, and for the 100th episode, we're doing John Carpenter's The Thing.
Oh, nice. Okay, so I want to be in that one.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm kind of excited. I first joked around about doing a clip show, just editing it and putting it up. But that's not what we're gonna do.
Really quick, one more time. What was the name of the Black something daughter?
Black Coat's Daughter.
Black Coat's Daughter, and then we're
That's
also
a movie?
gonna do
Yeah.
thing. Okay, cool. Sorry, I had to write those down because I feel like we talk about them, and then I always think like, oh, what am I supposed to watch, and then don't do it. So
I still text it to you, and you don't watch either, so it doesn't matter.
I don't. Yeah, so it doesn't matter. That's life, you know. It's all made up, and the points don't matter. But hey, folks, my phone is about to die, and we're almost at 2 hours. So I'm gonna pop off here. So
Okay. So
bye to everyone in the chat, and unless you're gonna. Okay.
Back tomorrow for the Dune over, and then next Saturday and next month we will be doing
Chilling Adventures of
Chilling
Sabrina.
Adventures of Sabrina Volume 1,
Yes.
Gambit's pick. So I got to get ready for work also. I didn't really think we're going to hit close to 2 hours. But thank you, everybody who joined us. Gambit, always a pleasure to talk with you because I never see you
Likewise,
anymore.
man. I know,
Pandemic.
right? I've been so busy, dude.
Well,
So
just stop being busy.
Right.
How
Stop
dare
being
you?
busy.
tomorrow, anybody reading Dune over 9 through 14 chapters, and joined by, of course, the lovely and adorable Sid and Cinia, the princess of power punches. She threatened to punch my ex into orbit.
Okay. I like that.
Little ball
I
of
see
fury.
that.
I respect her. So take care, everybody. Thank you. So long, farewell, goodbye, Avita Zay.
Bye, guys.